Welcome to Bravo Outsider. I'm your host, Craig Midwinter. Joining me, as usual, Dylan Ferguson. Dylan, how's it going?
Going good. As you can see, I've got a curated color scheme here.
Whoa.
It's October. I'm springing into fall.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm loving it. We are flying tandem this week. Just the two of us. We'll be back with an outsider next week, but we want to get into recapping 3 excellent episodes of Housewives. We had New York, Salt Lake City, and Orange County. Dylan, where would you like to start with this?
I don't know. I feel like we usually go through them like chronologically with the ones that started earliest. But why don't we mix it up this week? Since me and you are just having a little staycation together, like Jessel and Brynn. Why don't we start with New York this time?
Okay, yeah, I'm down for that. What did you like about New York?
Jessel is really getting cooked this season, this show. Really,
Yeah.
Jessel's just getting her ass cooked so bad. I'm kind of enjoying it, but feel bad for her. Like sometimes I put myself in the position of somebody watching the show and being like, time to binge and find out how it turned out. And that must not be great for Jessel, whose like storylines have gone from like you don't fuck your husband to you're privileged, you're boring, you're annoying, to you don't fuck your husband because he's going to Vietnam for sex tourism. Like she is getting cooked by the show so hard.
Yeah, I really hope that she comes back because I really like her, and I think she's turning into a little bit of a fan favorite too. But yeah, she's definitely like getting the brunt of it and seems to be rolling with the punches. One of my highlights from this was the scene that we got between Sai and Jessel at the end, where Sai arrives 20 minutes late and is immediately annoyed that Jessel isn't there, and she arrives 20 minutes after
later.
Yeah. And Sai is like so pissed off. But when Jessel, first off, I think that the apology that she meant came across very like heartfelt and like it was thoughtful. And Sai just immediately dismisses it with, I don't care. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
No, I do think that Sai's right that Jessel made a blunder where she's like, I did not intend to draw any comparisons to your life. And also, my uncle was an alcoholic, so that's one thing we have in common. She immediately starts directly comparing her life to Sai's life right after she said that's not what she intended to do. So
yeah,
I think Sai's got a point to be a little peeved about that.
I think it was like messy, but not malicious. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it seems like the issue with Jessel and Sai is like Sai is playing the game and Jessel isn't. Like Jessel is, I've said this before on the podcast, she reminds me of like Shannon, who's just like really navigating in a very authentic, true to herself way, not thinking about the meta and being kind of messy as a result of it. And I feel like, Jessel is putting out this story about her uncle being an alcoholic in an effort to connect. Like her motivation is to connect, whereas like Sai sharing her story with her mother, Sai is using it as like social currency. She's using like her opening up as like a play. And so the fact that Jessel is putting her story out there and putting it on equal grounds and like trying to use it as like a measure to balance things, Sai is like pissed off because she doesn't think that Jessel's story is as valuable as hers. She doesn't think that it holds the same value, so it shouldn't be it shouldn't be given equal weight. And I think that's what she's really pissed off is that she thinks that Jessel's going to be scoring more points with her story.
Yeah, I think that's more or less right. I think Sai is also extremely defensive of the kind of felt reality of her upbringing because she's somebody who lives in a world of privileged people and she didn't come from that background. So that's something that she really like wants to hold on to as like something that's different and important to her, and that's why she gets like upset when other people try to be like, yeah, me too, if she doesn't think it's valid. So I think she's a little too defensive about that, but I think there are like personal motivations, I guess I'm trying to say, rather than just like playing the game strategy motivations behind the way that she's like defensive about her own story and other people's attempts to compare themselves to her.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and also I always just love a scene where a housewife is like made to wait and is pissed off. I especially love the fact that Sai was going to have made Jessel wait for 20 minutes and then was pissed off that she was the one that had to wait 20 minutes.
Right.
Like,
because she felt that was her right, because she was the one who was invited to dinner, right? She's
Yeah.
like, you invited me because you want to apologize to me, so I can show up late and get leverage over you. I get to have leverage in this situation. You don't get to have leverage in this situation because you're supposed to be the apologizing one, the
Yeah.
supplicant.
What other highlights did you have from New York?
Do we think that that Pavitt is doing sex tourism?
So I don't think that it's sex tourism, but I do think that it's sketch. Like, it's not you don't just go to Vietnam for miles. Like, that's not a thing that people do. Like,
Yeah.
you don't actually physically need to take the trip. You don't actually need to board the plane if you just want to buy a ticket to Vietnam and just let it like get the miles for it, right? Why would you need to do that?
Yeah. I kind of like Pavitt, so I don't necessarily want that to be the case, but I think sex tourism makes more sense than like I wanted to buy a banh mi. And definitely more sense than, like you said, I wanted the miles. Like, what other motivations does he have here? Like, what else is he doing? Like, for just like a one fly in, fly out.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I've been to Vietnam. It's amazing. You can go to Hoi An, which is an amazing city there. I think everyone should go and visit it. They've got like beautiful lanterns and all lining the streets, and but they're known for their tailoring, and you can get like a custom fitted suit made like very cheaply there. So why not just go there and get a bunch of like suits made and say like that's why you're going. That seems like a reasonable reason to just
Sure.
go for a bit.
Yeah, if he's looking for cover, he should bring stuff back with him. In some
Yeah.
sense, like just like bring like some kind of, I don't know, dried herbs or something, and be like, you can only get this in Vietnam. I need these for my spicy chicken waffles, and
Yeah.
this is the only place I can get them. Which, by the way, when Jessel was getting a little angry at Pavitt in the restaurant, being like, you ask for hot sauce, and she's like, this is a fancy French restaurant. Well, why do they have chicken waffles on the menu if they're a fancy French restaurant? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and so do you put hot sauce on your chicken waffles? That's never something that I've done.
No, I don't think so. Though what I know about chicken waffles has been called into question recently. I was in Quebec a couple of weeks ago, in Quebec City, and I ordered chicken waffles at a restaurant, and they gave me a plate of chicken waffles covered in caramel sauce. I hated it. I have no idea why you would just smother it rather than like, let me dose it. B, why in Quebec you're not giving me maple syrup? Why are you giving me this fucking caramel sauce instead? So I don't know. I mean, I know that there's like a lot of variations on it too. Like there's like the more northern version, which I think is just like gravy and stewed chicken rather than like fried chicken and syrup or whatever. But hot sauce is new to me. Though, I mean, like a bit of hot sauce with maple syrup is like a great saucing combo. So I can see it. I can picture it. I think that's not a terrible idea.
Yeah, I could go for like a spicy breading on a fried chicken on top of waffles. I could like get that, but yeah, I don't know, something about like dosing it with the hot sauce, like the vinegar. I don't know. Didn't sound very appealing to me. Yeah. Another
maybe that's how they
scene.
do it in France. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. What else did you like about this episode?
All right, so like Brynn choreographing choreographing.
Yeah.
That's the pronunciation. Uh, like a hookup between Jenna and a strange chick in a bar. So I don't know how you felt about this, but I personally felt it like excruciatingly unsexy, almost as much as Jessel and Pavitt pretending to get intimate together
Yeah.
for the cameras. Um, I mean, what did you think about that?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this scene. What I liked about it was there was like a bit of contrast because, this is a scene that Jenna operates in. Like she's a lesbian, so
Yeah,
she's used to the social dynamic here. And to see her be as awkward in this situation as we have seen her when she is in other like social situations with the other women, just like to see what is her personality of just being generally uncomfortable and awkward. I thought that was really really nice to see, and especially having a comparison with Brynn being there where this is not her like social scene, but she is just so like comfortable with like people and like wanting to like make flirty connections and really like thriving doing that. I really like that. But the actual execution of it all, the like the brokering of the deal and how awkward
yeah.
that was definitely really uncomfortable. So I really also like getting that as kind of like the cap on this scene and how it's, very just a rocky scene altogether.
Yeah, it does get to something that does kind of annoy me about Brynn. And you had a great defense of Brynn in the previous episode, but she's just like it can feel like everything about her is so like performance based. That to have like this moment where she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be your wingman. I'm gonna like help you out here," and then like provide specific stage instructions that leave like no breathing room for like the actual like spontaneity and uncertainty that like allows for actual sparks to fly and actual like connection and like sexiness to like exist. Felt like kind of to me like a condemnation of Brynn's whole method of like being very like very performance based. Um and yeah, I think that's the one thing I like Brynn too. I'm not saying I don't like her, but like I think that's one thing that gets a little annoying about her whole like flirting with everybody thing. And then when like Erin tries to call her out and she says, "Yeah, I was obviously fake flirting. I never real flirt." Is that it's like, well, is everything just like performance then? Like, is there like an actual like is there a real Brynn beneath like constantly playing
Mm.
theater all the time?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think like what I liked about this was we see her like operating kind of in her element. Like we saw that she can make a a scene that she's able to kind of control a scene and like
Mhm.
do her thing when she's got the tools at her disposal, and like she was effective at fostering some sort of connection. And yeah, it was awkward and didn't like leave enough room for kind of the human element to play. But um, I think that what we have seen from Jenna is that sometimes she does need like, or she could stand to benefit from having someone, kind of lubricate those social connections and like,
Yeah.
um, you know, especially when she's still reeling from a breakup that she is reluctant to put herself out there because she's so recently been hurt. I think I don't know, I don't know that it was necessarily Brynn seeing a like a need and addressing it and like going out and doing that, or if it was just her kind of navigating a situation as she navigates every situation by putting things on. I don't no, I don't want to attribute a sort of social mastermind uh, uh, tag to Brynn. Although I think that she is great. I don't think we've seen enough of her like navigating social situations to really label her that way. But yeah, I do think that it was just kind of a nice scene where we saw some pieces come together in a way that I wasn't necessarily expecting to see, and just complement each other. It was just it felt like both organic and inorganic at the same time, and I just really loved the texture of this scene.
Sure. And yeah, Brynn and Jenna together are like a great combination and contrast for that reason, because they're both very charming, magnetic women, but for like polar opposite reasons, I think, in the sense that Jenna is so charming because she seems like uh very vulnerable and insecure and very like, relatable and raw in that way. And Brynn has a very like practiced charmingness that I see as being like very, like I said, very performance based, and that's not pure criticism when I say that either. Like
Yeah,
that's like a great social skill to have, and it comes from, I think, a real place. It comes from the heart too. Like she
yeah,
this is part of her. This is part of the way she lives and acts. But there's like, yeah, one woman who's really charming because she really knows how to put on a show and constantly perform, and one woman who's charming because she never learned how to do any of that.
yeah. Yeah, totally. And like I definitely understand why Bryn is like, you and other people would criticize Bryn as being very performative. Like I there's definitely like merit to that. But I think that there are others on this cast that are equally as performative. Like I feel like Erin is similarly very like fake and constructed, and just way more of a producer than Bryn is. And we're seeing, kind of this calculated image that Erin is trying to present. I thought that was evident during the scene, the double date scene with the husbands,
Yeah.
where like Erin brings up like swinging, and it felt like she's trying to come across as like cool and open, and
Oh,
it's really like we saw that also with the prank war stuff, where she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just so chill and into pranking," and um, just like uh, what she is telling us is very different from what she is showing us, and she's not a very like effective uh, producer. Like she's not able to manage her image in a way where I think like Bryn is also sort of putting on a character, but she is just like, she owns it a little bit more. It just comes a little bit more naturally to her, I guess. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, sure. I think Aaron's just as constructed too. Aaron's just constructing a very boring personality. That's the main difference. Uh, and it is really funny to me that Abe is like, oh yeah, I'd maybe like get into swinging in like 10 years or something. Like, yeah, this like preternaturally old Grateful Dead fan like just is like, yeah, I'm gonna be an old guy who's like into swinging. Like, yeah, man, you said like you'd be a real hit in like 1978.
Abe the Babe. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't wait for him to hit the swinger scene.
I also like when Britt is like, oh, guys hate it when I can quote this week's Economist. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
would fucking hate that too, honestly.
Yeah, anyone is like coming and having a conversation with me and quoting the Economist is, it's not going to be like, oh wow, that's love to hear more about that.
Yeah. If you tell me you have a subscription to the Economist, that's like already I'm already done with that. Sorry.
One thing that I do appreciate about Bryn is that she's kind of going through like a little bit of a like a Peter Pan type thing, where she's pursuing all of these things that she was interested in as a child, and like now she's going to be collecting antique books because she was like really into books, and we've seen her do that with chess and like
Yeah.
and cars, and just like really exploring this kind of lost childhood that she has. I find that really fun, and it also actually feels like there's some element where she's putting this forward as though it is like something that she is. It part of it seems performative, but it also seems like authentic. Like these are authentic interests that she has had that she's now maybe putting in front of the cameras that she is like a lot more deeply ingrained in this than she has been, but it does seem like these are authentic like points of interest that she's exploring, and I like seeing her like just kind of navigate this and being like, oh, I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that. And
Yeah.
we're seeing that instead of seeing, you know, her professional life and seeing her job. It seems like that is what the substitute is. And you know, I appreciate that we're getting something different displayed in terms of a personal story that isn't someone's like job, and seeing, you know, kind of that we're seeing someone explore their like their inner child. That's not something that I can remember really seeing on these shows before.
Yeah, it is like sweet and nice, but it is also, I think, typically exaggerated and performative in a very Brynn way. That instead of like going to the used bookstore and rifling through some paperbacks, she's like, I'm gonna put on an outfit with a ridiculous wide brim hat and go look at first editions of Mark Twain books. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, take it down a notch, okay?
No, I love it because it is like a, you know, we're seeing a common thing with her, and she has expressed this on a few episodes now, uh when she describes her motivation for how she operates by like flirting, and that's her like go-to personality, where like that is a defense mechanism that she learned as a child. Everything sort of comes back to her childhood, her roots there. um and I think that this is another example of that. Like she's playing like dress up and going to a bookstore to look at like books specifically without pictures so that she can
Yeah,
like seem more mature.
yeah,
Um, you know, all of this is her like it's like she is in an adult body but being controlled by like a child. Like she's, you know, someone playing the Sims and controlling
right.
her, making her go out and uh, do whatever they think is like something a
Right.
sophisticated woman would do.
Right, like the things that I would dream of doing once when I'm a rich grown up. She's like actually living those dreams.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's very like admirable to see that. Like I find it, um you know, I it feels like actually authentic to me.
Yeah, I do like it. It's sweet. Um, I
Uh
did kind of like Sai in this episode too. I'll just say quickly, just because I just like that she's a little harsh and doesn't really take shit from people, and I do kind
yeah.
of like her being like the most skeptical of Uba's bizarre like healing retreat thing or whatever the fuck that was, and just being like, I'm fine. I don't need healing.
Yeah.
I'll also respect Jenna kind of saying the thing that I think a lot of people think but often don't really want to say about people who are always like, you know, I've been seeing a lot of people and realizing that I need to like work on myself. I need to focus more on myself and stuff, and being like, oh, you know, Uba says that she wants to direct love towards herself instead of always to other people. Like, I thought she was always doing that. Like,
Yeah.
it always seems like the most selfish people are the ones who are always like, I just need to focus on myself right now.
Yeah.
um, but you know, you always like to see. I always like to see just you know, a bizarre fucking healing retreat in the middle of an episode. It's always a great convention.
Yeah, totally. So I was curious what you thought. Do you think that Jessel and Pavitt had sex on their staycation, or is Jessel just saying that to get people off her back?
If they did, it was like probably really forced and bad. She definitely doesn't give off the vibes of somebody who was like, who finally, you know, we got like we had like a really great intimate moment. And I suspect they didn't. Like that's that little scene we get of them like trying to be intimate, where Jessel briefly like kind of play acts as Brynn, as if she's trying to like invoke her as like as like an image of how to perform eroticism. It was just like there was no intimacy whatsoever going on, right? Like just felt like when Jessel straddles him and they're both like, how long do we have to do this for?
Yeah.
Like expressions on their faces. Um, very, very, very awkward, I thought. And so yeah, they're just not, I mean, I don't know, maybe they had like a period where they were like really into each other sexually. We do know from earlier that like they were roommates for like years, I think,
Yeah.
before they got married, because like Jessel's mom suggested it or something. Like, I'm starting to wonder if these people have just like never had like real sexual feelings for each other, and just like are eventually like, well, we've been in the same house for long enough that it's time to be married.
Yeah, the thing that struck me about that scene was like, I don't know, it seemed like Jessel was earnestly trying to be playful, and
She was
and
making an effort, yeah.
yeah, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go put the lingerie on, and then she comes out and he like laughs at her, and
Yeah,
then like it's like, oh, that's interesting. That's so brutal. That is so
that is
brutal
so
to like
brutal.
do
Yeah,
that.
it is.
So that makes me feel like nothing happened on this staycation.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
don't buy it. I think like I think that size spot on that Jessel like desperately wants this storyline to be over,
Of
as
course she
she has
does.
like, yeah,
Why wouldn't she? Like,
every
it makes
right.
her look so bad. And yeah, you're right. Like Jessel was awkward, but she was trying, and yeah, but Pavitt wasn't giving her anything. And Jessel's a hot woman. Like, it's like very unfortunate that like this something is just like not working between them. I understand that things happen to like couples with kids that I know nothing about, because I've uh never been there. But in some situations, I don't know. I've been told.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's I don't understand why there seems to be like no sexual chemistry whatever between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Jessel was trying to put an end to this storyline before, like she's trying to do it quickly so that she
Yeah,
doesn't end up getting a scene where, like the scene that we got between like Erin and Sai and their husbands at the dinner, where they're like talking about it and joking, being like, oh yeah, if I didn't have sex for a year and a half, then I would like be off screwing other women. Like that is the scene that she was trying to like put an end to this story
yeah,
before
of
that
course.
happened. um and that like we got that scene at the same time as this awkward scene. So pretty like it's a very like cringe storyline to be following through
Yeah,
this.
like I started
And
out with, Jessel's just getting her ass cooked in the show.
yeah, totally. Did you have any other thoughts on New York?
Nah, I think that's about enough of that.
All right. Yeah, so let's work our way backwards then. Let's talk about Orange County. We got the season finale. What were your thoughts on
Yeah.
this?
um as a season finale, pretty strong. I do like to see the kind of various storylines sort of resolving into like just Heather versus Tamra standoff, trying to
Yeah.
Heather kind of making a last stand to try to gain influence and gain supporters, even though she's like really has her back against the wall at this point. Um, Kind of made for an interesting episode. It really feels like, from some of like the little clips we got of like meetings she had with other women that didn't end up becoming scenes, that she was like trying this with everybody. Like, she was trying to gain supporters from everybody post Mexico,
Yeah.
and only really had success with Gina. Gina's the only one who was really kind of Heather Marized, or whatever, whatever Deborah said there. And a little bit Emily at the end, but it seems like she really tried to like pull everybody one at a time back to her side, and only really gain traction with one of them. But a valiant effort, and I appreciate her trying to like make a final play at being like, this is between me and Tamara, and I'm gonna try to gain influence and like, yeah, they try to take her down instead of her taking me down at the end. Don't think it really worked out for her, but she put it up a valiant effort.
Yeah, one of the things that I was like surprised about, actually, so the thing I was most surprised about during this episode was when like Shannon and John were at dinner, and John said that he wasn't a corn person, like who doesn't eat corn, especially like this guy who has made like steak his personality. But anyways, I was shocked because yeah, like you said, I noticed that Heather was rallying the troops and really seemed like she was trying to set up a battle, but then like once she got to Gina's circus party, like she was just kind of wandering around aimlessly, and Tamra's like, oh, she's rallying the troops right now, when she really wasn't. Like, I don't know. I
Right.
expected her to have a bit more of a battle plan going into this, and
Yeah.
it she seemed absent of that.
Yeah. She seemed to have already kind of given up by the time we actually get to what would have been the confrontation scene, which Tamara, like you said, immediately recognizes as like this is the time for the clash. She sees like Gina and Emily talking to Heather, and you almost hear like the Kill Bill like siren music when she like stares at them and being like, "Oh fuck!" And then like Tamara goes in ready to fucking fight. You know, she's got the hands flying in the face and everything.
Yeah.
You know, wanting to really provoke like a full on screaming match. I think that's what Tamara wanted to have happen. And Heather just kind of really wasn't, despite making a big effort to try to get people on her side. When it came down to the scene where they would have had a confrontation, Heather just kind of wasn't really game for it anymore at that point, I feel.
Yeah, and I feel like um I'm comfortable like putting the mastermind label on Tamra. I feel like she was willing to be, you know, the heel here. I feel like she set everything up so that all these threads that she had like kind of put out there were going to come together at the end of this. Like all these separate messes were going to come together in a single blowout at this party, and she like was, you know, this was her plan to make herself like the villain here and just really you know, have a huge battle. And we got a little bit of that, but yeah, like she said, when she called out Heather for like rallying the troops, I that's when I was like, oh, she's planned this. Like she is like ready for this confrontation. This is like constructed for these storylines to come together, and for her to be the bad guy, her to be like the puppet master behind, or the wizard behind the curtain type thing. um yeah, it didn't really plan out as like a full-on brawl, but this was still a very fun final scene. Like this party actually looked pretty dope by housewife party standards. Like it seemed like it was actually fun. It was like it was loud in there, which is something that I kind of use as a metric for how fun a party actually is on these shows, because um I've from what I've heard, they don't, you can't play music, right? Because it's all
Right.
copyright and you don't want it to interfere with the sound.
Right.
So it's like um it's pretty hard to get like a bump in atmosphere. And so
Sure.
depending on how loud the crowd noise is, that is a little bit of an indicator for me as to how happening of a party it was. And this one seemed legit. There was like people actually like wooing in the background, and yeah, it seemed fun. And always love a opportunity for people to have fights in costumes. That's a Bravo staple that will never get old for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't get why they were harshing on Heather's costume but not Jen's. Like Jen's was way worse. It was like this cheap lion hoodie that looked like it was from Spencer's, like
Sure,
not even
but
Spirit Halloween.
okay, but a lion is a thing that you see at like a circus carnival, whereas like the character from Metropolis or whatever Heather was playing is not. I get that
Yeah,
she may be going for trapeze artist. Maybe that's what Cirque du
yeah, I
Soleil,
think
right? Right, Cirque du Soleil trapeze artist. Okay, that's under the falls under the big tent. So I don't think Heather's was terrible, but I think it's the least on theme. So I think that's why she deserves criticism for it.
yeah, but that speaks to like her point of reference being like that much wealthier than everyone else. Like their point of reference for like a carnival or a circus is like a traveling show that has like,
Right.
you know, what
People
a
eating
normal
chickens'
circus.
heads
Yeah,
and normal
and
shit.
Heather's
Yeah.
is like Cirque du
Bearded
Soleil.
ladies, sword swallowers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, John, wear the fucking hat, John. Why are you so resistant? Why are you like this, John? All she wants you to do is just put a stupid fucking hat on your head. It's not even a stupid hat. You look good at it. And
Yeah.
he just can't do it. He's just like all he could do is grumble about how he's got this hat that he doesn't want to wear the whole time he's there. John's the worst.
Yeah, John really is the worst. And I like get like kind of alky vibes from him as well. I don't know, the
Sure, yeah.
dynamic between like him and Shannon, I feel like, you know, just like people that are kind of together because they like to get like messed up at night and
Yeah.
just stumble around the same like dark house.
That's pretty grim when you put it that way. I think Jen manages to get out of the season though with kind of her head held high despite all the attacks she's had against her. We've had her tease a couple times about like Ryan maybe revealing some new information, and it ended up kind of being nothing. It was just like, yeah, I slept with this person a year and a half before we started dating or something. It was like it wasn't actually a real thing. I still don't like trust the guy, but I don't think we ended up getting some kind of confirmation that he's been like cheating on her all along or something. That never actually ended up happening. The kind of late in the day revelation that Jen doesn't really have any money is also kind of something that casts a bit of color over everything we've seen from her this season, I think.
Right.
I hope she comes back. I want to see more.
Oh yeah, because she said like she didn't have access to $5,000.
Yeah,
like that's like, I don't know, like
she
if you
really
needed
doesn't have money.
Yeah, that's it's like $5,000 is like, yes, it's like kind of a lot of money, but for someone,
for somebody in that social milieu, it's like pretty surprising
to not have access to that for like even like a little bit in an emergency is very dark.
But it just shows you how she's been on this whole time. She's been in a lot like weaker footing than everybody else. Like she's been in a more vulnerable situation than maybe we've realized. Like,
and then to say that in a room that is like so full of shit that she could sell, like there's so much like clothes everywhere, like you probably got like $5,000 worth of shit that you can sell on Facebook Marketplace.
Sure. It would just take a while to get there, and would reveal like, exposing yourself in a way that this is somebody who has like fake designer clothing, right? Like she doesn't want to expose herself as not having like access to money. But I think that colors her character like in retrospect, and I appreciate having that information.
What did you think of Taylor in this scene, or the final scene here?
Code Red Wasted. Who called her that? Somebody called her Code Red Wasted, which is great.
I can't remember.
Gina, maybe? I think maybe Gina said that. Yeah, that sounds like something Gina would say. Code Red Wasted, which is great. Yeah, that's exactly what she was. It's great. You know how much I love just seeing like one of these women just end up way drunker than everybody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, love that for Taylor. It's great fun to have her there.
I really enjoyed like how she was telling this story, like what she was upset about, some story about like salsa dancing and chicken soup and her stepdaughter. It really reminded me. Have you seen that old YouTube video, The Magic Numbers?
Oof, no, I don't think so.
It's like some way to remember your times tables. It's that this guy came up with that involves like telling a story with numbers. It reminded me of that. It's just complete like gibberish basically. I'll send you a link and DM me if you want to see it. Maybe I'll put it up on my Instagram. It's very bizarre. But yeah, loved seeing Taylor being Code Red Wasted. I thought that was fun. There was also a moment like right out of the gates, Taylor was clearly so drunk already, and we got that slow-mo shot of her eating ice cream. And I seem to remember there was like some sort of like incident with her eating on Beverly Hills that had caused her to like not want to eat a corn dog earlier this season because she didn't want it to be caught on camera. And the editors finally got their shot to get a slow-mo shot of her eating ice cream. So congratulations to the editors on another win there.
Yeah.
What other thoughts did you have on Orange County here?
That's about it. Like I mentioned last time in reference to the teaser, I'm glad we get one last fake doctor in when we get the incredibly cocky Dr. Tim, the chiropractor. So, just one more to add to the collection. Really fun. They should make a series just about all the fake doctors. There should be like the not so real doctors of Orange County should be.
Yeah, like, well, Bravo has a show called Married to Medicine, so maybe
alternative medicine.
Yeah, married to alternative medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of other notes. Yeah, I think that's about it. How many times a day do you poop?
Me? One max.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
I
on the Shannon one poop a day.
yeah. Why do
I'm
you
not
two?
quite.
That's excessive. That's indulgent.
Tamra poops 7 times a day. She said during this episode.
She must be like a deer or something, just putting out little pellets once in a while.
Yeah, I thought the Shannon colonic product story, the way that ended was fun. This is the weirdest housewife product that I can remember, and so the fact that we get this little ending on it where they haze Jen by making her try it was a fun way to get an end to that, and I look forward to seeing it on the market.
Yeah, me too. I look forward to getting one for Christmas.
Yeah. Put it on the Christmas list.
Yeah.
Okay, finally let's get into Salt Lake City. What did you think about this?
Um, I've always got a comment on the food. So the charcuterie plates at the Trixie Motel look ass, just like piles of grapes and cucumbers. Get that fucking shit off there. What is it? You can hardly see any meat or cheese. So I don't want any grapes on a charcuterie plate. Don't do that. Figs maybe. Dates okay. A whole lump of grapes. No, nobody wants that. What are you doing with it?
I like that was also like what triggered Whitney to take over the social planning. Like this like gross charcuterie, and Whitney's like, you know what, I'm gonna take over the planning. We're gonna have a drag competition or whatever. Um Whitney continuing to take control of this trip is very fun for me to see. Um I love Whitney as a housewife.
It's a very,
and I
very
think
ballsy play.
Yeah. 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 And like the person that is going to have the biggest reaction to this happening is Meredith. So it's, yeah, a ballsy play, well executed.
Yeah. I thought Lisa was honestly pretty legendary in this episode. I really, really enjoyed Lisa saying things like, I have glam in Monaco, I have glam in Saint Tropez, and following it up with, I'm asking you to relate to me. Another thing she says, if a wet noodle looks like a pretty girl head to toe in Isabel Marant with good makeup, then yeah, I'm a wet noodle. Like, you're not dressed up. I am dressed up. I've got head to toe couture and a Fendi bag and beautiful eyeshadow. It's just very like classic housewife stuff to me, to have these kind of like make these rich bitch flexes that are really just admissions of extreme insecurity.
Yeah.
like she is completely unable to operate in the world without like her armor of like her normal makeup routine and her couture and everything, and is like so unapologetic about being like, yeah, this is who I am, I'm rich and fabulous, but it's also just like a very insecure way to be at the same time.
Yeah. So Lisa is the only one that gets a pass from me for not participating in this drag makeup competition, because like she did something with not participating. She like made a moment for herself to like throw a fit and cause a scene and give something to the cameras by not participating. But everyone else that didn't participate, like Meredith just like doing the bare minimum and not putting on a wig, or I guess Mary kind of is giving us stuff when she's like sitting out on events too, but yeah,
I love Meredith just staying in the sleeper, or I'm sorry, Mary staying in the van, and as they're stepping out, saying, Meredith, signal back to me if you think I should come.
Yeah.
And Meredith's like, you should come, and she's like, I'm gonna stay right here.
Yeah.
How is you? I've continued to stewing over the fact that you said that Mary's like some sort of cult leader. I have to figure that out, because to me, like, I just don't picture it, and I need to know how that works, because I feel like the signal quality of like a cult leader is charisma, and Mary just seems so uninterested in connecting with any other person, which is great. She's just such a loner that I'm just wondering how that works.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of the details of how the church operates, but yeah, her and her husband, they are the heads of this church, and their flock is told to like treat them like they are messengers of God, I guess, and they exploit
I believe it.
people financially. So a lot of the hallmarks of a cult there, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I could see myself worshiping Mary. Actually, she's cool.
Yeah. There needs to be someone that does like a deep dive, like, true crime style investigative journalism on this cult. I would really like to get to the bottom of it as well.
Yeah. Also, there's a moment in a confessional early on where I'm pretty sure Mary refers to God as hired help, which is a really cool thing to say. Maybe she said hire help. I'm not sure. That's probably makes more sense. Though who knows with her. And also just while we're talking about Mary, I just love how she sits up the trust exercise because she was like, no, I already know I don't trust any of these women.
Yeah.
As if like the purpose of a trust exercise is to figure out whether you should trust people or not. She's like, no, I already have the answer. I don't need to figure it out.
Yeah, speaking of that trust exercise, like Cliff was dressed like he takes that so seriously.
Yeah.
Like he looked like an NFL coach in this outfit that he was in. It was like serious business.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other highlights from Salt Lake City?
A little torn on Monica's performance. I've been really liking Monica, and I do like her taking Lisa to task for like just like flaunting her privilege. I don't necessarily like her like sucking up to Meredith so hard. I'm not really sure why she feels she needs to do that at the expense of Angie. So I think kind of a pretty mixed episode from her.
Yeah, it's a wash for me. Like I do like that we're getting an extension on that like storyline or the dynamic between Monica and this bag and how she is like now it's evolved so that she is taking it out on Lisa as opposed to just like keeping all this embarrassment and the embarrassment that she has over making a purchase that was outside of what she like should have financially and like being ashamed of it. She's kind of externalizing that and using Lisa as a target. I like seeing this story evolve because I think that's just such a it's like it's relatable, it's human. So I appreciated that. But yeah, like you said, the play to suck up to Meredith, I don't really understand why. If it does anything to kind of deepen the divide between Meredith and Lisa and cause them to just have a bit more tension, then I'm here for that. I don't think that it's like an intentional, like strategic thing that she's doing, but just I could see, projecting this story outwards, I could see it playing into things and causing a bit more of a rift. So, yeah, I like to see that.
Yeah. Really
also,
looking forward. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say also really loving Angie. I think she's a really underrated new addition here. She's like very, very thirsty, but it's in a way that is like causing problems. So I appreciate seeing that. It's not like thirsty in a way that I kind of attribute to like Erin in New York, who is like really trying to construct an image in order to get like to be validated as being like cool and chill. It's she's there like causing problems, being a shit disturber, and yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like her too, and I really did like the way she held herself during the conflict with Meredith, and I'd like to see more of that too. She stood her ground well. She got legitimately angry. Very entertaining.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Salt Lake City?
Oh yeah, another check in the plus column for Monica is comparing Lisa to Veruca Salt from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That was very nice, very well done. That's about it though.
Yeah, second week in a row where one of the franchises has made a Roald Dahl reference, right? Because on Orange County we got the Willy Wonka quote or whatever it was that happened during the parasailing.
Right. Was it a Taylor who said something like "upward and onwards, Willy Wonka"?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that about does it for me. Dylan, want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. Since we're into October, I'll mention my horror movie podcast, which is defunct, but has 2.5 seasons of back episodes. It's called Mind Over Splatter. Me and some other people talking about horror movies and a lot of like social cultural context for horror movies. If you're looking for like discovering some horror movies that you might want to watch during the Halloween season, maybe you want to listen to some episodes of that. And I'll mention again the Devil You Don't podcast, a limited 4-episode podcast they just wrapped up about American history and cryptozoology.
Awesome. Well, that's Bravo Outsider for this week. You can find us online at Bravo Outsider on various social media platforms. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave reviews, tell your friends. That helps us out a ton. Until next week, keep on wifing.